Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We begin with a look back over the last week. This is a map showing temperature anomalies over that time period. And across much of the southern region here, we can see, especially as you get over toward parts of the southeast and the mid-south, we averaged 10 to 15 degrees above normal on temperatures. And I think it'd be kind of interesting just to take a look at why we were able to break so many record high temperatures for the beginning of October, and why this pattern persisted the way it did. It begins by taking a look here at our last 30 days in terms of percent of normal rainfall. And this is a map I like to show quite frequently, but it's one that I think a lot of folks in the south are getting tired of seeing. We have some locations that have not received any rain over the last 30 days. And as a consequence, the topsoil has dried out substantially. Now, when the topsoil is so dry, what happens when the sun beats down on it, especially on a nice clear day, instead of using some of the sun's energy to evaporate any water in the soil or in the vegetation, if it is very dry, instead of using some of that energy, all of it goes basically into the ground. Now, if you have wet, leafy vegetation or wet soil, it turns out you can use about 50% of the solar radiation that comes in simply to evaporate that water. So we lose about 50% of the heat just through evaporation. That's why green roofs are so popular. They can really insulate a building by not letting that heat go in to just baking the top of the building. So when we don't have that on our soil, it allows temperatures to spike well above what they could have. And the other problem with that is when you build in the heat, okay, when you build in that heat into the surface, that of course raises the temperatures, that actually thickens the atmosphere throughout the depth of the atmosphere and reinforces the ridge aloft. It's a positive feedback cycle. So the dry weather you've been staring at here with me has been a major component to the excessive heat that we've been seeing. Unfortunately, with the latest drought monitor that was released, we've now seen a continuation of the degradation of drought both in central Texas and then almost everywhere to the east of the Mississippi River and south of the Ohio River. That corridor in the southeast, very little improvement in very few places, and most places saw a degradation. So we need to be talking about if the pattern is going to break, what it's going to do in terms of precipitation, and is there any long-term prognosis that could give us some relief from this drought as we get into fall and early winter. We're going to talk about all of that in this video. Now, I can at least show you this. Take a look at this animation. We're just going to play it out. You will at least see the heat over the next couple of days. Watch. Finally get out and look at the cool weather coming in by the 11th, 12th, 13th. That's finally going to suppress some of the heat that we have been seeing and put us into a whole different pattern. So that was just every 3 hours through the next 16 days looking at temperatures. We'll get into some of the details here in a few moments. Over the next 5 days, the front is slowly advancing toward the southeast. You can see the temperature anomalies kind of telling you right where that front is currently and where it will be moving. So a couple of more days of the very high heat in the south right there along the coast. But things will be changing hopefully very soon. And then as you get out to days 6 through 10, yes, we certainly do have a couple of large low pressure systems coming through that are bringing in big fronts that are going to be pushing all the way toward and through our southern region. We're going to definitely show you what those fronts look like here in a few moments. But it all comes down to what's going on in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And the good news is the pattern that we have been in, at least as highly amplified as it was, that is at least changing. Now, there's the first bit of change. So certainly through the day on Friday, getting into early Saturday, we're still under the influence of this ridge. And even as the front from this trough, there's actually a front dangling way down here, tries to come through, it still is slowed down by the fact that there's a ridge in the upper levels. But we do need to watch this weekend for this shortwave trough to sweep through and create a low pressure center here. And why we're going to watch that is because that little trough right there is going to initiate the rain. First chance I've seen for rain in a long time coming through parts of the Mid-South, getting over to the Appalachian Mountains. Because as this deepens through Ontario and Quebec, there we go. That is going to bring a front that will stall right in through here, bringing us some much needed rain. And what you notice is at the same time, we've deepened a trough here in, over the northern Canada region. We've then got high over low pattern out in the Pacific, and that is going to help flatten out our jet stream for a little while. And that's also going to help us kind of get rid of that big, huge ridge that is set over the southeast, keeping things so very hot. So by the middle of next week, so this is Tuesday the 8th, getting into the 9th and 10th, this is what a lot of us will be watching. There is a sizable trough sweeping through the midsection of the United States, and this by next Friday will be bringing in a lot of cooler air, and that's going to feel great for a lot of us in the southern region. But after that, we do notice that by mid-month, we are expecting things to calm down a bit. So take a look at this. By mid-month, what do I see here? Well, overall broader ridging across the western United States, and we don't see deep ridges, big high pressure systems sitting here over the southeast. So that is a substantial change in the pattern and a welcome one at that. So what does all of that mean? Well, take a look at your next 5 days as forecast by the National Blended Model. We are watching, again, two systems. Initially, this system is going to curl up like this, and as it moves on out like this, it's going to drape a boundary into this area that's going to have a hard time moving. And as a consequence, we will be bringing in meaningful rainfall into this region. Now, I know you're looking at this if you're down here in parts of southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, southern Georgia, and not seeing much precipitation. Unfortunately, the probability of having, rainfall throughout this area, a lot of rainfall throughout this area, is low, but rain is coming to this area, and I want to show you when I anticipate it getting there. So we'll get to that in just a few seconds. First thing to play out for you here is our high-resolution NAM model to watch where our thunderstorms are forming over the next 60 hours or so. So this gets us out to Sunday midday. Let's just take it back to Friday midday and see what's going on here. So getting into the early morning hours, we're watching New Mexico, Texas, that region, really New Mexico here on Friday morning and midday for the precipitation. You will be seeing on the heat of the day down here, just like we saw yesterday, okay, we will be seeing storms that pop up that can potentially put down some very, very heavy rainfall, but it's going to be highly localized. What we notice is that as this pushes through, this is now getting into early morning on Saturday. There we go. There's the large system we're watching next, pushing right up here into the Central Plains. Now that will be the front that's going to stall over here, bringing our first meaningful bit of rainfall. Widely scattered showers and storms early in the morning on Saturday for parts of the Carolinas, though, before this system gets here. And there it goes. This is Saturday afternoon, which means I want to watch this corridor on Saturday for the potential for some strong to severe storms. But as we get through the day, here it is. We're pushing in the moisture here. The boundary's pushing through parts of Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, stretching all the way back over to parts of Oklahoma. And that will be the boundary on which things are going to stall throughout Sunday and Monday in through this area, bringing in that rainfall. Now, let me show you it do that. Ready? Pause it right here. This is Saturday evening, Sunday morning, Sunday midday to evening, overnight hours on Sunday getting into Monday morning. And you see it right there? The low went racing up here to the Hudson Bay. It's leaving its front sitting here. There's a big ridge sitting here off the coast. So we're pumping that moisture in. The boundary stalls there, and we have this chance for some heavy rain. Look at this. I'll just take you back. That's Monday at 1 a.m., Monday at 7 a.m., Monday at 1 p.m., Monday at 7 p.m. Okay, I'm sorry. That started off at Sunday at 7 p.m. And you can see the precipitation coming in through this area. Now, as that front comes through, I told you we might get some rain down here into parts of southern Mississippi and southern Georgia and southern Alabama as well. And as it does come through, this could be an overnight Monday into early Tuesday morning rainfall event for those folks, which would be welcomed. Definitely welcomed. We then see high pressure comes in and clears us out midweek next week, but I need to keep you updated on this system that we were watching for next Wednesday, Thursday. Models have now come into agreement. They've shut down the system they initially thought was going to be happening up here in parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and now are developing this much more substantial load that is coming through the Central Plains right into here. So this is a major model switch in the last 24 to 48 hours. And as it comes through next Friday, it does the same thing and has another big front that pushes through for the following weekend. See that? So this is Friday into Saturday, the 11th through the 12th. Okay, see that system coming through? Now, that again will be giving us a decent chance at rainfall through this area. So the pattern has broken down as you saw. We now are getting more regular chances at precipitation. Will the tropics be aiding in this? No. Right now we're looking at about a 10% chance at this system developing here in the Bay of Campeche, and not a whole lot being advertised about anything else going on in the tropics, at least over the next 10 days, to be honest with you. And that's because in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we're shifting our suppressive flow from here slowly to the east as we get in through the middle of October here. So this is kind of a lull in the tropical activity, so no assistance here from rainfall. Let's go back and take another look at those temperatures, though, before we kind of wrap this video out. So here we are today on Friday, still the oppressive heat in place here, but you can see where the frontal boundary sits. The cooler air is coming. Let's take a look at when it arrives. So let's come in here. Here's Saturday's high temperatures. We start to see some northeast flow here, bringing in some cooler weather to the Carolinas first, but still going to keep the heat on in parts of Alabama and Mississippi as we progress into the day on Saturday. And of course, that stretches to Louisiana and central Texas as well. But look at this. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We've now gotten back into much more, well, closer to seasonable weather here across our southern region with our temperatures. But as you saw, next week, here comes that front. Watch the northwest. This is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Big low pressure system now spinning here, and its front is on its way toward the southern region, such that we may be getting highs in the low 70s and upper 60s for next weekend. Well, let's call it low 70s to be on the safe side of things as that front comes sweeping through. But it'll be certainly some welcome cooler weather. All right. To finish up, I want to at least show you the 11 to 15 day pattern. Remember, at that particular point, we were advertising a deeper trough here, a ridge that was sitting over the west, and a more broad trough sitting here over the eastern United States. And the question I wanted to have was, does that last past mid-month? So when I looked out to week 3, some brand new model updates that came out last night. One of the things we noticed is that once we get into week 3 and toward the end of the month, it appears that the region I've kind of shaded here goes back over to a slightly above average temperature pattern, with the cooler weather tucked way back over into this corridor, not necessarily sitting again over our southern region. I am watching this for the beginning of or very end of October, beginning of November. The models are trying to advertise a storm track that sweeps in like this or potentially like this. Now, it's a little different than what we had been seeing, which is where the storm track had been coming in and going like that, which is what's left the southeast so dry. But that potential shift could mean for the beginning of November, end of October and beginning of November, this area and through here could be seeing a very active storm track and getting quite a bit of excess precipitation at times. So I'm going to have to watch that carefully and analyze it over the weekend and see how things shape up for early next week when we release our new set of videos. But I'll go ahead and stop it, I think, right here. We hope you all have a great weekend. And please keep a close eye on the radar this weekend to see how the systems move through parts of the Mid-South and the Southeast, basically bringing in our best chances at rain we've had in a long time. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.